Hi, I'm Dylan Paris. This is Ultra Choice Newsroom, and today I'm talking about how Microsoft can save the Xbox. Now, I'm not gonna lie. These days, I'm kind of a die-hard Switch fan. It's really taken over my gaming life, and even though I have a PS4 Pro, the Switch is where I do the majority of my gaming. However, when I was younger, I was really into the Xbox 360. I remember working all summer in 2006 in a coffee roaster so that I could get my hands on one. Playing games like Oblivion, eventually Gears of War, Call of Duty 2, and just having a really awesome time on Xbox Live. The Xbox 360 owned that generation in a lot of ways. Now, the Wii was the best seller, and eventually I do believe the PS3 numbers came from behind and took over the secondary spot. But there was something about having a console come out a year before everyone else for at least 100 less than its main competitor. Those two advantages really allowed Microsoft to get a huge head start. And they used that advantage, along with hardware that was much easier to program for than the PS3, to really become the de facto console for AAA multi-platform titles. However, when it came time to launch the Xbox One, I think Microsoft made a couple of huge mistakes. First, under the leadership of Don Mattrick, they decided to focus more on being an entertainment system, including video and cable pass-through, rather than just a pure gaming device. Two, they bundled a Kinect unit with every single console, driving the price up to $500. Three, they had mixed and muddled information about how used games would work. This interesting but kind of incomplete vision for digital titles and ownership. In the end, they gave in and kind of followed Sony's lead, kind of replicating the same system we had the generation before. The Xbox One's launch was really different than the 360 though. It came out the same fall as the PS4 for $100 more, and with not many huge launch games. The Master Chief Collection, which was supposed to be this huge, obvious slam dunk success, had a lot of glitches and launch issues, and took a while to get to a playable state. And I don't even think that came out at launch. I think when it launched, you had Forza 5, Rise, Son of Rome, and eventually games like the first Titanfall and Sunset Overdrive came out, but they weren't really enough to push the console up to the levels of PS4. Because the console had less power than the PS4, but also cost more, they created a pretty rough value proposition, and I think a lot of people wondered why they would choose an Xbox One over a PS4. Now, Don Mattrick left, and Phil Spencer's in charge of Xbox. And I think he's already guided the unit in a direction that makes a lot more sense. They've been focusing on a dual-pronged effort of a low-cost Xbox One S and a very powerful Xbox One X. The nomenclature is a little muddled, but I do think what they're doing with this technology is really interesting. However, I have a couple of ideas that I think could help them be more competitive in a world where the Switch is selling faster than any console in US history, and the PS4 has, by most estimates, although Microsoft isn't sharing exact numbers, a 40 million sales lead on the Xbox One. So here are my ideas for how Microsoft can save the Xbox One. First, I think they need to cut the price of both the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S right away. Now, when I first thought of this, I think I had a pretty extreme estimate, and I talked with my friend Harvey about it, and he kind of talked me down from how high I thought the price cut should be. But I think listening to him and thinking about it more, this is what I think they should do. The Xbox One X, by this summer, should be $400, not $500. Well, it's clear that the console is more powerful than the PS4 Pro. The PS4 Pro's exclusives and that $100 price gap make it still a pretty tricky value proposition to choose the One X over the PS4 Pro. Look, I think it might be possible that the cost of the components in the Xbox One X are more than the MSRP of the console, but having that $100 price lead is essentially the same gap they launched with in 2013 between the Xbox One and the PS4. I think they need to eliminate that gap, and I would say even bundle in games or have even extra special promotions with Xbox Live included or even a couple months of Game Pass. I think they need to get really competitive with that price, and I think they need to either match or even maybe go lower than the PS4 Pro. On the Xbox One S front, I think they should get as close to $100 as possible as soon as possible. I know it goes down to around $180 sometimes during holidays and Black Friday sales. I think it should MSRP at $150, and I think there should be amazing bundle deals and refurbished offers that get closer to $100. I think we've seen throughout video game history that when a console can hit $100 MSRP, it opens up a whole new audience. It starts to become more of an impulse buy. and it's gonna get that machine into a lot of homes where parents are looking at two different systems and thinking, oh, well, they both play Assassin's Creed, they both play football, they both play all these other games I think my kid wants. One of them is 200, one of them is 100. They gotta go with the 100 option. So it's more likely that we'll only see a cut to 150, but the sooner they can get to $100, the better. That price cut across both parts of the portfolio will have a huge impact on creating a better value proposition for the console. But that's not all they should do. Part two is they need way more exclusives. And I think there's a couple of ways to do this. There's been a lot of writing on sites like The Verge, Polygon, Kotaku, IGN about, is Microsoft gonna buy a major studio? Rumors were floating for studios as big as EA and Valve. I don't think that's impossible, but that's not the approach I would take. There may be no other console manufacturer in this world who has the kind of resources at their disposal that Microsoft does. When you look at Microsoft as an entire entity and not just the Xbox division, you can see they have almost unlimited resources in comparison to a company like Sony, which actually depends on the PS4 in a lot of ways, along with insurance and a couple of other different departments. Whereas Nintendo and Sony have to pull heavy from their games division, Microsoft has the comfort of Windows and their cloud services and enterprise. They have these tools at their disposal which will help them float the cost of revamping the Xbox lineup. I think they should look at buying smaller studios and IP. Studios like NetherRealms, which make Mortal Kombat and the Injustice series. They should be getting more and more exclusive access to games, and even big ones. They don't need to buy EA, but maybe they should get exclusive rights to Anthem. I think the internal studios they have, like 343 and the Coalition, in my view, those studios should be working on new IP just as much as they're working on the next Gears of War and the next Halo. I think we need to see a way more consistent and high-speed cadence of exclusive and interesting releases on the Xbox One. When you look at something like the first year of the Nintendo Switch, it was literally every month we were getting a new and awesome game on that machine. Look at the Xbox One X, and the lineup is almost laughable in comparison. To my knowledge, the big 3 exclusives coming up: Sea of Thieves, which looks awesome; Crackdown 3, which is the sequel to a game that most people weren't a huge fan of. It was the sequel to a game that was mostly known for including the Halo 3 multiplayer beta at launch. Full disclosure, I loved the original Crackdown, but if you told me back then that Crackdown 3 would be one of their marquee titles, and that there hadn't been a Halo in multiple years, and that there was no Gears of War either on the horizon, I kind of would have laughed. I think Microsoft needs to step up their game. They need to get hungrier. I mentioned this in my video about Apple. When companies sit on their laurels, I think they start to see their grip slip away. I think they lose innovative prowess. I think they become lazy, and I think it sucks to see that. We saw this with Sony between the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3. PS2 sold amazingly, and they got overly confident, thinking they could sell a $500 and $600 machine, telling people to get another job. Microsoft was able to capitalize on that, selling their console cheaper and having a year-long lead. We saw the same thing happen with Nintendo after the Wii, where the Wii was huge and the Wii U seemed like a weird misstep. Luckily, that misstep led to the Switch, which rules. However, I think we also saw this with Microsoft when they came off the success of the 360 and pivoted into the weird media center status of the Xbox One. I want to see Microsoft succeed because I love it when there are multiple companies at the top of their game making the best stuff they can so that people can enjoy new and interesting and exciting experiences for costs that aren't astronomical. I think a $150 Xbox One S is a really cool entry point, and eventually we'll get to a $100 Xbox One S. I think they gotta do that. I remember when the GameCube went to $100, and all of a sudden you just started seeing way more people own one. The Wii launched close to that, and hitting 100 really also helped that thing get into even more homes than it already was. Along with that, I know they don't want to lose the prestige of their brand, and so the Xbox One X can serve as their marquee console with 4K graphics, HDR, and all these new awesome gaming experiences. Personally and selfishly, I want to see them drop that cost to $400 or even $350 because I want to buy one, but I cannot justify $500 when I already have a PS4 Pro. I think Sea of Thieves looks awesome, and I'm curious about Crackdown 3, but they really need to invest in new IP, new experiences, and really expand on the series they already have, producing new content at a much faster cadence than they are right now. And honestly, pipe dream, if they could tell me that if I bought an Xbox One X and paid for Game Pass, that they would allow me to match the titles in my Steam library to the available titles in the Xbox Marketplace, I would buy an Xbox One X right now. I kind of hope Microsoft watches this because I want them to know I do think they're already making great strides. I think Satya Nadella is an awesome CEO. I think that Phil Spencer is doing way better work than Don Mattrick was, and I think things like Xbox Game Pass and the focus on backwards compatibility are extremely enticing. I think it's really cool that they're investing in indies, just like Sony, just like Nintendo, because I love seeing these smaller experiences get a chance to grow and shine and have huge audiences, but I just want to see them push it further. I remember the days of reading Electronic Gaming Monthly in like 2004, 2003, and just looking at all the awesome things offered on every side and how those different machines pushed each other to be better, and how those platforms allowed for new and interesting gaming experiences you could only find in specific places, but challenged the other ones to do more. I would love to see a new Jet Set Radio. I've got friends who would probably literally kill for a new Banjo-Kazooie, and not nuts and bolts like an actual Banjo-Kazooie. I've got a PS4 Pro, a Nintendo Switch, and a Dell XPS 15 that can play like Overwatch and some other games, but I would like a compelling reason to get an Xbox One X. I still desperately want to play Sunset Overdrive, and there's a selfish part of me that just wishes it would get ported to everything, especially the Switch. But if you can give me a couple more games and a price drop, I feel like that could be enough. I want to see Microsoft succeed. I want them to be hungry. I want them to want to win. I don't want them to sit back and just be like, okay, well, we lost this one. I think there's a chance there, and I think if they dramatically cut the prices of these machines to be competitive and exciting, and if they really expand their portfolio of games and give us new experiences we can't have anywhere else, I think they can move a lot more units. I think it would be cool to see a new version of a Surface line with those Intel CPU, AMD GPU combos that could actually play native Xbox games, or at least play anywhere initiative games, to expand their portfolio into a portable marketplace as well. Overall, I'm kind of excited about the state of gaming these days. Between the Nintendo Switch, those PlayStation exclusives, and a hungry Microsoft that's really trying to come back and succeed, I think a lot of awesome stuff is out on the horizon, even after an amazing year like 2017. And I'm excited for what the future holds. Do you have any thoughts or feelings about what Microsoft should do? Feel free to comment if you want. For everything else, you know how to use YouTube. And now, Bane.
Hey Microsoft, where the hell is the next Jet Set Radio?
Thanks, Bane.